Welcome to Operation Healing Heroes. Join me in the boat today as we honor fallen soldier Josh Brennan through the eyes of his veteran father, Mike Brennan.
They served for us. They sacrificed for us. Their stories deserve to be told. Every military veteran has a story to tell. Join our host, Jay Garstecki, as we honor the stories of our true American heroes, one soldier at a time. The mission today is Operation Healing Heroes. Brought to you by Great Clips. Mike Brennan is a part of a Gold Star family. It's an honor that no one wants. A Gold Star family are the immediate family members of a fallen service member who died while serving our country. Today, through the eyes of U.S. Army veteran Mike Brennan, we honor and remember a true American hero in Mike's only son, Joshua Brennan.
You know, I honestly didn't know what a Gold Star family was years ago, and a lot of people don't. And, you know, we didn't become a Gold Star family by choice. It's nothing that somebody wants to be a part of.
Absolutely.
It's not a club that you join. And it's just one of those things that, you know, we're proud of Josh's service and everything like that to our country. And we just wish that we weren't, you know, in this situation. It's been 15 years, but sometimes it's just like it was yesterday. Josh came to me after 9/11. It was a couple years after 9/11, and he was maybe 16 years old at the time, and he said, "Dad, you know, you served in the military, and Mom served in the military," and he's like, "You guys did a really good job," and he said, I just think I'd really like to serve my country. And, you know, I was really surprised at that time that a young man of such a young age would consider that, especially given the fact that we were at war in two different countries, Iraq and Afghanistan at the time. And by going into the military, that meant him potentially going into harm's way, into combat. And he was thinking about that in service as a young man. You know, he said, "But I want to serve in a branch of the service that's going to be the toughest," because he said, "I don't want it easy." He said, I just want to have it hard. I don't want to have it easy. He didn't want it too easy because he wanted to be challenged. Oh. So the recruiter talked to him about joining the Army Airborne Infantry, because that's what the recruiter was, airborne infantry.
Okay.
So Josh thought that that would be a position that challenged him enough. So
that's what he chose.
That's what he chose, yep. I remember the conversation when he called and told me that he had joined up and he had joined the Airborne Infantry. And I was a little concerned because at the time we are in a war in Iraq and Afghanistan. And so it was one of those things that I was very proud of him for signing up and proud of his willingness to serve, but as a parent, definitely concerned, especially being at wartime.
Josh was nearly killed during his first deployment.
At one point in time, he said a guy appeared, and this guy, he said, was only about 50 yards away from him. And he said the guy shot at him, and he hit a board right next to Josh's head about 2 inches away. But he didn't seem to be overly rattled from that. He just seemed, you know, surprised at how close he had come to being killed at that time.
Operation Healing Heroes is brought to you by Great Clips, Power Pole, and by St. Croix Rods.
Operation Healing Heroes is a nonprofit organization dedicated to documenting the lives of our U.S. military veterans. In addition, we also provide financial support and treatment for post-traumatic stress. Your donation will help heal our heroes.
So on October 26, 2007, I remember about 11 o'clock at night, and the phone rang, and Josh's mom was on the phone, and she was just sobbing and telling me, take a break. And I remember her just telling me that Josh was killed. Then she immediately put the military guys on the phone with me that were giving her notice out in Oregon State. And then the next morning, we had 2 military sergeants come to the door and deliver notice to us at the house as well. And I just remember that, you know, the one guy is reading this to me and serving this notice, and he's just sobbing. And I'm just telling him it's okay. I'm like, it's all right, I already know. I already was told last night, you don't have to do this. And he said, no, sir. He goes, I'm required to do this. This is my job. I have to read this to you. Then the next thing I had to do, I had to tell my girls. That was the hardest thing I've ever done. They were 8 and 12 at the time. And Josh was 22. And they really looked up to their big brother. Just a couple days after Josh was killed, I received a call from Afghanistan, and it was Sergeant Sal Junta and Staff Sergeant Eric Gallardo. And they were obviously very emotional, and they're trying to walk me through and basically telling me what happened.
Sergeant Sal Junta would receive the Congressional Medal of Honor for his actions while attempting to save the life of his best friend, Josh.
It is my privilege to present our nation's highest military decoration, the Medal of Honor, Staff Sergeant Salvatore A. Junta.
Not long after Mike's emotional call with Sergeant Junta, Mike would receive another phone call.
The phone call was from Josh's colonel, Colonel Oslin, who was calling me from Afghanistan. But in his conversation with me, he said, Mike, he said, the Taliban in this instance were prepared to take whatever losses that they had to take to capture an American soldier. And Josh was that guy. And he said, thanks to the efforts of Sal Junta, that Sal was able to stop them from taking Josh, and we were able to get him back.
Operation Healing Heroes is brought to you by Great Clips, Norson Construction, and by SKB Cases.
Oh, I think I got one.
You got one?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you do. That's a northern pike, it looks like. Oh, yeah, you got a little northern. Oh,
We got off.
If you'd like to see more behind-the-scenes footage, follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, make sure you check out our podcast, Operation Healing Heroes, where we're going to tell more veteran stories. If you're a U.S. military veteran in Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan, Minnesota, or beautiful sunny Florida, log on to our website, takeavetfishing.org, to find an event near you.
So after he was killed, It was about 10 days before we ended up getting his body back. This little private jet comes flying in, and I just, I'll never forget, the military honor guard is there and them taking his body off that little plane. Just, it tore me up. And then following his funeral in Oregon, my family and I all flew from Oregon to Chicago on the plane with Josh underneath and brought him home. And so in Chicago, we were met by the Chicago Police Department. We were met by the Police Honor Guard that I was a member of in Madison. We were met by Patriot Guard riders. We were met by military. And I remember just transferring him in Chicago. We get to the Wisconsin border, and all of the local law enforcement agencies around Dane County where we live here and the Wisconsin State Patrol picked up the escort along with a new group of Patriot Guard riders, and they led us all the way from the Wisconsin border all the way to Madison. I just was in awe over all of these people that just came out, you know, to show their respect. We come down through the heart of town, every sign in front of every business. Had a sign welcoming Josh home. All the schools let out, all the businesses let out. It was so quiet though, you could hear a pin drop when we rode through town. The governor was there, and he was, but there were 5 generals and the governor and other military leaders that were at his funeral. And I remember one of those generals coming up to me after the funeral and saying, "Sir," he goes, "I've been to funerals for people that are members of Congress, members of the Senate, and people that are high up military officials." But he said, "I've never seen a funeral like this." Anyhow, I mean, the one thing though about all of that is I've always said that, you know, like my son being killed in combat and his loss is no greater than anybody else's loss. Josh is buried in McFarland now by our house, and he's about 2 blocks away from our house. And I learned from one of the teachers at the school that they go to the cemetery every year and they go to his grave and they share his story and they tell his story. And so they share that with the kids in the school. After his funeral and everything, the military sends all of the person's belongings back home. When I got one of his bags home, inside of the bag was a diary that he was writing in when he was in Afghanistan. And the thing that he wrote in there is he said, "I don't think I'm gonna be on this earth very long." So January 2009, we were invited by President Bush to go to the White House. I thought about what message do I want to bring to the president. And when I sat down and I talked with him and I met with him, I just wanted to let him know that I'm not bitter or angry. I didn't feel it was his fault. I just felt it was Josh's day to go, and, you know, none of us could have changed that.
The mission of Purple Hearts Reunited is to return lost, stolen, and misplaced military medals of valor to our veterans and their families in order to honor their sacrifices to our great nation.
If you'd like to personally thank a veteran that you've seen in one of our episodes or nominate a veteran to be featured in a future episode, log on to our website, operationhealingheroes.org.
Operation Healing Heroes is brought to you by Recon Boats, Thorne Brothers, and by FVP.
Now, it was several years later, I met Josh's first sergeant from the military, and, you know, we were talking, and he said, Mike, he said, do you ever wonder why Josh used to walk point? And I said, well, First Sergeant, I guess it's just because he wanted to, right? And he goes, no. He goes, he walked point because he was the best out of all of us.
Led by example.
Yeah. I don't know.
Sorry.
It's bittersweet to hear that because, you know, he was a fighter. He was, you know, and he was a born leader. He really was. And I didn't know that until I talked to some of the guys from his unit. I have to say, probably the number one thing that got me through it really to this point would really be my faith. Might be gone, but I just think in so many ways, he's just still he's with me in so many ways. And I already told you some of those stories. I'm convinced.
There's no mistaking.
And that we don't control everything that happens in life, and that this was just his day to go, and I couldn't do anything to change that, so I completely accepted it.
As a father myself, I don't know how you cope. Losing a kid, your son.
It's my only son. But you know, when I was in that motorcycle accident, he wasn't even born yet. He was already my strength. Because I knew I was potentially going to have a son. That was my will to live. And he didn't even know me yet, and he was already my strength. But it's,
Well, I know nothing can bring him back. And I even kind of feel foolish honoring you with this stuff, but you know what?
What's foolish about
Hey, it's about honoring Josh and his legacy and your family, your daughters, your wife, his mom. And
that.
this is a rod that was made for you. It's got all the branches of military on here, and it says, in appreciation of your sacrifice and service. And this was custom built. It's a St. Croix rod that was made for you.
Wow.
In Josh's honor and Josh's memory.
Oh, wow.
And I hope every time you fish, you'll think of Josh when you hold that rod. And
Thank you.
in addition, I know you mentioned earlier you liked our shirts and you wanted to get one.
I love your shirts. I'm a patriotic guy, and that's a patriotic shirt.
This is a Mike Brennan shirt. It's got your name on there. It's got Brennan on the back.
Oh, wow.
And like I said, this is
I'll
just
wear that. I'll wear that with pride, whether
say
I'm
thank you for
riding my motorcycle or fishing or whatever I'm doing, but it's a way to, you know, not only honor him, but just all of our veterans, because I enjoy doing things to help our veterans, but it's really therapy for me to do things for other veterans. And out of all the programs I do, a lot of the reason I do it is just because it's my way of giving back and saying thank you for the freedoms that we have.
That's why we do this show. I mean, and like I said, on behalf of Operation Healing Heroes and our whole family and our film crew, our families, we can't say thank you enough. I mean, we've never done a Gold Star family, as I mentioned before, and this is something that we've talked about for a while, and I'm honored that you would be willing to share Josh's story with us and your trials and hardships. And so I just can't say thank you enough. I mean, I hope that you'll think of us every time you go fishing, and thank you for everything.
buddy.
Appreciate you. Thank you, and thank you for your service
Thank
too,
you.
sir.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate that. If you'd like to personally thank a veteran that you've seen in one of our episodes, or nominate a veteran to be featured in a future episode, log on to our website, operationhealingheroes.org, and click on the nominate button.